Like right next to you. Did I get my own? No, it's too far.
I know you're still on that technical.
Yeah, where's that? Oh my gosh. Do it. That's not very satisfying. Yeah, there you go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're gonna go ahead and start the meeting. Let's have a roll call vote, please. Thank you.
District 1 Supervisor Alejo. District 2 Supervisor Church.
Here.
District 3 Supervisor Lopez. District 4 Supervisor Askew. District 5 Supervisor Daniels.
Here.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Here.
City of Delray Oaks. City of Gonzales.
Here.
City of Greenfield.
Here.
City of King City.
Present.
City of Marina. The City of Monterey.
Can't top that. Here.
City of Pacific Grove.
Here.
City of Salinas. City of Sand City.
Here.
City of Seaside. City of Soledad. Ambag.
Here.
Caltrans District 5. Monterey Bay Air Resource District. Monterey Salinas Transit.
Here.
Monterey Regional Airport. Watsonville. CSUMB.
Present.
Okay, Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And looks like everybody is present here in person, so we don't have to do a roll call vote. Thank you, everyone, for participating. We'll go to the next item, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Item number 2 is public comments. These are for agenda items these are for comments for agenda items that are not on the agenda. Anybody wish to make a public comment either from the room or online? I have a hand raised online, phone number ending in 2837. Go ahead, please.
Hi, this is Brian Rosen calling. First of all, I think it's wonderful that Supervisor Daniels is really supporting the trains and is speaking out for bringing more rail service through the capital route to Salinas. This would be a great thing, and I commend her for that. I also wanted to mention that if you get spoke with one of your senior planners, and the idea was to have a shuttle from Salinas to Monterey. But guess what? It would save about 20 minutes if there was a shuttle from Castroville, because it's another 10 minutes to Castroville to Salinas, and then you have the extra time riding the bus back to Monterey. Minutes. But I just want to recommend that you really listen to the public. They do matter, you know. I mean, not just lip service. The public really does matter. And, you know, they really never wanted this surf project. And after you, I don't know, 130 million or whatever, there's just going to be a bad taste in the mouth of the public. It's just so sad. They never voted for a project where all the tracks were going to come out, but where were the surveys? And you just go watch it for yourself. Weekday mornings, one direction for 2 hours. There is a backup. You know, some busy holiday weekends, I've surveyed it myself. I wish all of you had done a better job. Apparently you haven't, but some of you are, I know there's a lot of money in development from the surf because of the law that you get to do all this development around a major transit stops in the Fort Ord, and I understand that. And But I just wish that there was more concern for the public and their needs, and that's an awful lot of money. And God, we're going to get up to 120 million or so. And imagine what we could do with all that money.
Thank you,
If,
Mr. Rosen. The 2 minutes are up. Thank you. We captured your comments. Anybody else from the public or in person who wants to make a comment? Seeing none, I close public comments and move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. Before we get into it, Shane, did you want to make a note here?
Yes, thank you. What's the item number again? It's 3.1.4. Thank you. So pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision Delta 3, representing the following salary increases for the Executive Director. This is the final action for TAMC. This represents a retroactive increase of $17,999.69, an annual compensation increase from $235,506 to $274,505 with an increase of $38,999. This information is written within the amendment as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. With that, anybody wish to pull any item from the consent agenda from the board? I don't see anybody here wishing to pull anything. Anybody from the public wishing to pull a consent agenda item? I see nobody from the public either, so we'll close the public comment there. Anybody wishing to make a motion?
Make a motion for approval of the consent item.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Smith and second from Askew. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to the regular agenda, which is item number 4, draft North Monterey County Safe Routes to School Plan. Go ahead, Ms. Green.
Good morning, Ariana Green, Principal Transportation Planner. And yes, today I'm going to give an update on the North Monterey County Safe Routes to School Plan and looking for some feedback from you all. It's just as soon as I remember how to use this clicker. Can I have the next slide, please? The Safe Routes to School Plan includes 11 schools in North Monterey County, and this project is a partnership between the Transportation Agency, the County Health Department, County Public Works, Ecology Action, Caltrans, Center for Community Advocacy, and 2 school districts, the North Monterey County Unified School District and Pajaro Valley Unified School District. And this project is funded through a Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant and Measure X. Next slide. We kicked off the plan in fall of 2024, doing family outreach with the schools. We did walking audits around each school site, looking at issues, barriers to walking and biking, traffic and safety issues around the schools. And those informed our list of recommendations that are included in the plan, which were developed starting in spring of 2025. And then, as many of you heard at our meeting last month, we worked with a steering committee of committed community members to do a participatory budgeting process, which is where TAMC provided a pot of funding for projects and the community helped decide those projects and created a ballot for the greater community to vote on. And the County Public Works staff are already working on those projects to bring them to fruition. And then we also did a pilot project in fall of 2025, testing out some new designs in Castroville, and we're shooting to have a final adoption of this plan this June to meet our grant deadlines. Next slide. So this slide shows the vision for our plan. So we want every child in North Monterey County to be able to say these statements with confidence. I can walk, bike, and roll to school safely. I know that my trip to school helps our environment, builds healthy habits, and saves my family money. I am more connected to my neighborhood and community through my trip to school, and I have the skills and confidence I need to travel to school without using a car. The plan also includes these 6 goals, the 6 E's as we call them: evaluation, engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, and equity. And these are consistent with all of the other Safe Routes to School plans that we've developed in Monterey County. This is just some pictures of the traffic calming pilot project that we did that I mentioned that was done this past fall. And the goal was to slow speeds on 2 major Safe Routes to School corridors in Castroville. So on the left, you can see we painted some curb extensions to shorten the crossing, and we did some high visibility crosswalks. And then on the right, we did these little traffic circles to slow people down at a couple of intersections. And we actually put out tube counters and measured a noticeable reduction in speed at the intersections that had these traffic circles. And then we also did some community surveys to find out, what the community thought about these improvements. And everybody loved the curb extensions, loved the high visibility crosswalks, but we had mixed reviews from drivers about the traffic circles because they slowed them down. So, so some trade-offs. Next slide, please. And then this is our wonderful steering committee, and we have a couple of folks in the audience here today too. This was a really large steering committee and really engaged steering committee. We had on average 31 people participate. Sometimes it was more, sometimes it was less. And as I mentioned, they developed a ballot with projects. They went out to the community and talked with their neighbors and friends to talk about the projects. And then they made the final recommendations to the Board of Supervisors after the final vote, and are staying engaged with county staff on making sure these projects are implemented. So we had a meeting with them last week also to talk about some of the high priority projects in this plan. And then these are just the election results. So TAMC committed $1 million to the participatory budgeting projects. The county also kicked in a little over 21,000 to make sure that all of the projects on the list can be funded, which is awesome. And then the vast majority of the funds are going to projects on county roads, but some are going to the school districts for improvements on school property. Next slide. And then I just want to quickly go through the top priority projects that are in the plan. And the way we ranked the projects were based off of these 4 criteria. So do they meet a safety need, an urgent safety need? Do they provide better connectivity to schools, to after-school locations like parks and libraries and community centers? Are they filling gaps in the bike and pedestrian network? And are they a project that was brought up by the community? So these are the 4 criteria that we use to rank the projects. Next slide. So in Castroville, we heard a lot about the need for better pedestrian lighting throughout the city, but especially on Main and Geel and around the libraries and the recreation center. Next slide. And this was confirmed by the steering committee. And then we also had a desire for crosswalks, for decorative crosswalks like this one, but we heard from the steering committee members last week that really the first priority is just crosswalks. And then if there's extra money, this would be wonderful, but there is really an urgent need for high visibility crosswalks in Castroville. Next slide. And then this project is to formalize a dirt path connecting Arroyo del Agua to Castroville Boulevard. This is just south of the high school. So it's a common route for students to get up to the high school. Next slide. And then this is to install high visibility, this should say crosswalks, not sidewalks, crosswalk and curb extensions at Guile and Preston and Guile and Main Street. Hope I'm saying that right. Next slide. This is to add a vertical barrier along the multi-use path leading up to the high school along Castroville Boulevard to provide some separation between the cars and the students riding.
Is that a computer simulation? Is that what it looks like to me?
This is just an example from a different city. Yeah. Good question. This is not out in Castroville. Next slide. We heard a lot about how dangerous it is for folks leaving the high school, North County High School parking lot or drop-off loop. Speeds are really fast on Castroville Boulevard, so this is just a reminder that we need to look for options to make it safer to make that left turn onto Castroville Boulevard. Next slide. People wanted more bike parking on campus, and the steering committee feedback was that we needed more bike parking on all campuses in Castroville. And thankfully, TAMC has a program for that. Next slide. And now we're moving on to Hall District. So this recommendation was to install sidewalks on Willow Road from Hall Road to Berry Road. Next slide. Also for Hall District to install a lighted pedestrian path along on Sill Road from Hall Road to King Hall Road. Next slide. This one we heard a lot about. So this is to analyze this intersection, this wonky fork intersection of Sill Road and Harrington Road to make it safer. There have been some crashes here. So either a stop controlled intersection that's shown on the right or some sort of a roundabout or traffic circle or something. Next slide. More sidewalks on Hall Road from West Road to Las Lomas Drive. This is a really busy road, and we heard a lot of feedback about how difficult it is for students to navigate this section of roadway to get up to school. Next slide. This one's a simple one, just make the gate bigger so buses can get into the school and leave the school. Next slide. Now we're moving on to Prunedale. So this is a recommendation to add sidewalk and parallel parking on the south side of Pasante Road. So this would connect the Central Bay High School to be a walking route for Prunedale Elementary and then into the neighborhoods. Next slide. And then we had some region-wide recommendations for buses. So folks were wanting more signage and bus stop shelters along Pasante and Blackie Road, and then specifically a shelter on Hall Road and Willow Road. Next slide. And then for programs, people wanted more crossing guards, especially in Castroville at Union Street and McDougal Street, and TAMC, through our Safe Routes to School program, we do offer crossing guard trainings. So this is something that we can implement in the short term. Next slide. So we are in the process of gathering feedback on the draft plan. So we're reaching out to community, we're reaching out to schools, the school districts, and you all today. So we are hoping to collect all that by early May and then have final adoption of the plan again in this June, and then implement the projects. We've been in contact with county public works staff and started talking with them about some projects that could be make good grant applications. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Any questions from the board members? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I always been really big fan of this whole project, just for the community participation I got into, because I know there were like 1,000 votes from the community and great turnout. It's just, the projects are overall really, really great and just practical, and, you know, I think the whole program is successful. However, the couple of things I want to point out. One, you mentioned about on the traffic calming in Castroville that there was substantial reduction in speeds, or phrasing on that line. And as I've looked at the numbers here, it looks like there was actually very minor changes, less than a mile per hour on a lot of those. I think there was one or two of the four different setups that had at the 95% percentile about a three mile per hour drop from, I think, 31 to 28 or something like that. So there was some impact up there, but I think it was really, I think a better description would be mixed, really on terms of the effectiveness of it, and that it, you know, overall it reduces the speed by only about a mile per hour, but it seemed to have, in some cases, some impact on the higher speed ones, but which maybe is, you know, with the goal we're trying to achieve there. But I think that's important going forth and looking at. Also on the two issues that I know I get a lot of concerns about is on Elkhorn Road in Echo Valley. Elkhorn School, and Echo Valley School. On Elkhorn, of course, there's that parking there where people are parking right along Elkhorn Road, and I will tell you just from personal experience, because I drive through there. The way parents act with their kids is just dangerous. I mean, they literally will walk out in front of you when you're going 15 miles an hour, and be upset that you're driving. It's really bad there. And then the situation over in Echo Valley, where it was really kind of interesting. The first picture you put up here showed a school bus there trying to turn onto Echo Valley, and it was in the wrong lane. Because if you look at it, it's in the left lane, not the right lane. And that's part of a problem, because the vehicles get lined up so far back that people are passing 15 cars in front of a school. And it's quite a straightaway, so there's a lot of danger in there. But some of the solutions that were being proposed for those two, I've had discussions with Public Works and with the school district on different solutions. So, which includes widening the road there. I mean, we're going to have to look at funding and various things. That's for Echo Valley, where there's a telephone pole, maybe trying to make a middle turn lane in there, and make that where the telephone pole is the left hand or the north side of the road lane. And then over on Elkhorn, which you mentioned about a parking lot going in on the east side there of Elkhorn Road, but actually the school district owns land in a field below there, which would be a discussion I had with the superintendent about maybe having faculty parking down there and then allowing more parking inside the school for people. So I'd be happy to discuss those with you.
Yeah.
It's all very early in discussions on that, but those are some rough things, but I just noticed those weren't addressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll reach out to your office
All right.
and we can set up a meeting.
Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation, and I've always loved this, especially the participatory budgeting process using the community groups. There was a picture, though, of the crosswalk, and in front of it had a little sign that said, "Look," with the arrows going both way. I assume that's obviously just a picture you pulled up, but to me, I've never seen that, and it felt like they should be on all crosswalks. Is there any kind of data that shows that that has been something that has been helpful?
I
You can
don't
always
know
get-
off the top of my head, but it is something that we have been exploring for the Safe Streets Together campaign.
Okay, yeah, that one, especially around the schools, seems like it would make a lot of sense, but anything you learn, I'd like to learn more about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Leo, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Obviously, a lot of really good projects and really good feedback from the community. So I want to be very supportive, and I always love seeing when an agency like ours or the county supervisors are able to plan for investments in these neighborhoods and communities that historically not had basic things such as sidewalks and better lighting. And I know we've done some of these projects in places like San Lucas, San Ardo, and the community really feels like they're getting the attention they've long sought and they deserved. So these are all very good projects. Could you just explain, though, the process after this plan is adopted? How will these projects be implemented? How will they be phased in? I know it's based on the money we have available, but could you just explain that part after this plan is approved? What will happen and how will these projects be carried out?
Sure. So the participatory budgeting projects are already funded. So that's just a matter of County Public Works building them. And then for the projects where we haven't identified funding, we are working with Public Works staff to identify potential funding sources. And what we've been doing as a practice through our Safe Routes to School program is supporting grant applications. So we try and choose a big project in each plan, and then we work with the jurisdiction's staff to actually develop the grant application, even if it takes multiple rounds.
So out of all the projects, what percentage is there funding for and what percentage do we still have to seek out funding opportunities for them?
That's a great question. I don't have a percentage off the top of my head, but I mean, the bulk of the projects are unfunded right now.
Well, thank you. And anybody I was thinking that one project just on Hall Road in Las Lomas by the Las Lomas Market, you see the congestion that's there during the peak hours and what danger that presents to school children trying to get home or trying to go to school early in the morning. So just thank you. I was really impressed with all the different projects that are listed here.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Great presentation. I just had a comment regarding Castroville Boulevard. And I think that the vertical barriers is excellent on the side of the road there for people or students walking on that road. I lived out there about 50 years ago, and you would walk very much right on the road. So that is a pretty dangerous area to be walking. Also, I wanted to bring up that I know that there's going to be future housing at the end of Castroville Boulevard, housing project. Have you looked at future increases on population there in regards? I think that this vertical barrier is great in that area, but on the left turn leaving North County High School, have you taken a longer range look? I know that's going to probably be expensive. I don't know if you'd look at a roundabout in the future, something to slow people down on that rural road, which people do travel pretty quickly. So just to make that safer, would you be looking at, something, looking at certain cost of a project or what may solve safety issues, therefore, like making a left turn, leaving the school. So, and that would just be, further down the road that we're looking at it now through a lens now, but just for soon, I believe that there's going to be more growth and population, so an increase of cars and folks walking through there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I have something that I feel a little embarrassed bringing it up. But if you see something, say something. So I'm just gonna put it out there. You had a really good slide with 4 different quotes that the kids would say. And one of them was, by walking to school, I saved my family money.
Mhm.
It kind of pulled at my heartstring. But then on the other side, I thought maybe a child would feel guilty when they didn't go walk to school. So I just want to ask you to take a look at that statement and make sure that it's okay psychologically for kids.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I did at least have a couple of comments. I would say one is, you did mention decorative sidewalks and high visibility sidewalks taking the precedence. In my opinion, at least the decorative sidewalks are highly visible. So maybe there may be something where we can meld both of them together. And then I just wanted to call out for the board that I was at the CalCog board meeting earlier this month, and TAMC was awarded a jury prize for the process, which was participatory budgeting. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to steal Todd's thunder here. Sorry, but I just wanted to call that out to say that this is a very important facet. It has been recognized at a state level and between other councils of governments. So kudos to TAMC to what you're doing and elevating the community needs. So with that, any public comments?
We do have public comments.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, my name is Cecilia Baez. I have resided in Pajaro for the majority of my life. I was a member of the North Monterey County Safe Routes to School Steering Committee because I want to see improvements in an area that has experienced neglect for far too long. In my neighborhood, I've observed children walking the middle of Lewis Road during the rainy season while it's pitch black at 6:30 in the morning during rush hour to avoid the slippery, unpaved sidewalks, which still retain sludge from previous floods. The kids have to walk in the middle of the road because the last storm drain on our street is located near 6 Lewis Road, leading to rapid accumulation of rainwater near the school bus stop at 40 Lewis Road. Although sidewalks are not paved, they are designed with the curb. That's what retains the water. Paving our sidewalks from 14 Lewis to 44 Lewis would fix this problem, hopefully before a tragedy occurs. Although speed feedback signs were input and speed limit was reduced to 25 miles per hour in the same area, the traffic that passes by during rush hours is still at speeds of over 50 miles per hour. The times coincide with when kids are walking to their stops in the morning or getting off their bus at 5 p.m. after their after-school program. For everyone's safety, we would greatly benefit from speed humps between 14 Lewis and 44 Lewis Road. I've also noticed many RVs that park along Lewis next to the Union Pacific Railroad yard. Our kids walk home from Pajaro School and get scared having to walk past so many strangers that sometimes have addictions, have nowhere to hook up their RVs to safely get rid of their environmental waste, and like to leave their trash behind. It's not fair to our kids. Adding Lewis Road to the oversized vehicle ordinance that is being discussed for Railroad Avenue is gravely needed. I'm here today on behalf of all my neighbors advocating for the safety of our kids and the kids of the future. And also I want to input on the Las Lomas. All of those projects are great. They're definitely needed for the Hall School area. The widening of the gate is definitely needed. The stop signs up on top. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have almost, there's been a lot of crashes up there. So they're great. And the sidewalks on Hall Road between Las Lomas and Willow, I had feedback from some of the community members, and they said that it's not the greatest idea because they don't walk to school, they're bused. So the money that would be spent for there would be beneficial to the sidewalks on Willow Road, because Willow Road, you constantly see kids and elderly people walking in the middle of the street because there's no sidewalks and everybody parks where there should be sidewalks. So that would, whatever you're going to spend on that, put sidewalks on both sides of the street, not just one side, both sides of Willow for their safety. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
I would encourage you to bring this up. If you can send an email with the concerns, I think we can. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ana Luz. Acevedo Cabrera. I grew up in Castroville, went to all the schools in the district, also a long-term resident. And I just wanted to echo the two big areas that I think are high hazard for the community. So one of them being North Monterey County High School and the turning lanes there with the speed. Been to several events, both being alumni, and I usually just wait a long time until everybody's done with that because it's kind of a scary situation. But the biggest concern I do have is Elkhorn Elementary School. I know Supervisor Church talked about it before. Uh, it, and I'm really concerned. Many people in the community are really concerned because there is no sidewalk. I know during our time in the committee, we talked about this being an area of concern, but there was not even a possibility of consideration for putting it on the projects that we would work on just because of the budget constraints. It was not even feasible. Just putting a sidewalk there was beyond the scope of the $1 million that we were talking about as a constrained budget. So if that could be elevated, that would make a big difference because Elkhorn Road is a very important passage for a lot of vehicles, and not just for the community, but it connects Santa Cruz to Monterey County, and especially when you have San Miguel Canyon Road that gets clogged up with traffic, that becomes an alternative route. So, and you have to go drive there yourself during pickup times and drop-off times, especially pickup times where everything is parked along the side of the road and kids are in the middle of the road getting to and out of school. So it's really dangerous, and I just wanted to echo that if you could really take a hard look at it and find the funding to make that a safe place for the kids in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
We did have some comments sent to us.
Yes.
Should I?
Have been then distributed to the board?
They have not been.
Could you, are they lengthy? If so,
Sure.
okay, if you could just summarize it really quickly, or we could just distribute it to the board.
Okay. Do you?
Go ahead.
Okay. We have one from Maria Zamudio, lives in Castroville, and was part of the Safe Routes to School steering committee. And she wants to say that she is in favor of formalizing the dirt path that connects Orilla de Agua to Castroville. It's really tough for kids to walk on it during the rainy season because it gets really muddy. And then we have another comment from Guadalupe Maldonado, also from Castroville. And she is saying that the street lighting is really important. And it feels unsafe to walk around the community when it's dark out. We have one from Adrian Ayala, also a Castroville and Prunedale resident, and also wants better lighting and the sidewalk on Pedante Street. And then we have one from Juan, who lives in Pajaro and wants a crossing at Bishop and Jonathan to near the middle school. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you could just forward that to the
I will
board as well. Thank you.
forward the full
It looks like this is certainly gaining high visibility in more than one way, so which is great. I see an online hand raised from Ms. Ramo. You have the floor.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lennon Ramos, and I'm a community leader, a promotora of CCA Center of Community Advocacy in Castroville. I'm currently also a steering committee member, and I'm here to ask the board to support and invest in our community. We identified, I'm currently working and volunteering with youth, and I can hear a lot of stories about, and I echo my colleagues with the high school, the safety of our youth in Castroville Boulevard and Collins Road, going to Castroville High School, as well as the Elkhorn Elementary. I went and did some outreaches when we were doing Cal Kids with Harnell College Foundation. So I can definitely see the need of improving those uh, streets and safety of our children. So thank you for your time and for listening. We much need that help in the North Monterey County. Thank you.
Thank you. Heard a lot about North Monterey County today. Thank you. Thank you for elevating this and for providing all of you for providing your comments. There's just receiving an update. Barring anything else, we'll move on to the next item, which is item number 5, Regional Vision Zero Action Plan. Mr. Bilsey.
Good morning. I'm Doug Bilsey, Principal Engineer, and we also have on online our project manager for this project, Lacey Brown, who is from DKS, has been doing an outstanding job getting this project to where we are at today. TAMC received a grant to prepare a regional Vision Zero safety action plan, and it's a comprehensive roadmap intended to unite the communities to eliminate fatalities and serious injuries on our roads. So what we have is some agencies have already gotten a grant, similar grant, to prepare their own action plans, and we're taking that up into this regional safety action plan that TAMC will have, and then developing an action plan for each and every other jurisdiction in Monterey County. What that does is open the door for future Safe Routes to School grants. You can't go for a capital improvement with this grant money until you have a safety action plan, and it has to have the project that you're going for in the plan. So what we're going to be doing is talking about the TAMC at a high level. There's a lot of data to exchange. So we're going to kind of do this in 2 steps. So instead of talking about the entire plan at this point, we're going to give you an overview, an update, and then ask you to adopt a vision that will be used in all of these other plans. They can be used, give it a template. The concepts that drive this whole process are called the Safe Systems Approach, and it's a well-regarded approach that the U.S. Department of Transportation created, and there's a lot of things that we have to do as part of this grant, as in part of our plans, but we also wanted to personalize it. There we go. So we're going to start off with just every one of those dots is either a serious injury or a fatality. And that affects not only the people that were injured, but so many more families and other people in our community. So when we look at typically in engineering, traffic engineering, you look at a 5-year grouping of collisions and injuries to get a trend. So when you look at it, that's a big number. So 203 people killed in 5 years, that's just about over 3 every month, to put in perspective. And 843 serious injuries in 5 years, that's about 14 a month or about 3 a week. So every week we have 3 injuries, not every week, but on average, we have 3 people injured. And now I'd like to hand it over to Lacey Brown and have her explain at a high level just what we're doing and how we got to where we're at now. Are you there, Lacey?
I am. Can you hear me,
We
Doug?
can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. All right. Good morning. I'm just going to touch on a couple of the key elements that are going to be in all of the different plans that we're generating. Some of the screenshots and images I'll show you are from the Rural Unincorporated County Plan, because that's the one we finished first. One of the key elements that's a required part of the plan is a high injury network. And that is a very data-driven process where we look at the entire roadway network and we identify the roadway segments that are experiencing the highest number and the highest severity of crashes across the county. And so this is just a snapshot of the rural high injury network. We're also developing and kind of looking at the statistic for each of our jurisdictions, the percentage of those fatal and serious injury crashes relative to the road miles. And so for the rural county, we have 75% of all of those fatal and serious injury crashes that are reported in the rural areas are occurring on just 5% of the roadways in the county. And this just really highlights that we can really target our interventions to reduce the risk of those fatal and serious injury crashes. Next slide. Another big part of this project was a really robust community outreach campaign. And so we held, I think it was 22 different events all across the county. These were pop-up events, these were open houses, and we really wanted to hear from the community about what made them feel unsafe when they were traveling, any locations, any risky behaviors that really influenced their safety and comfort traveling through Monterey County. And for each of the different areas within the county, we developed this kind of word cloud. So we compiled all the responses that we got, we put it into a word cloud, and it really just highlights some of the commonalities in people's concerns and specific to traffic safety. I think this specific one was for one of the North County events that we had, and highlighting, you know, speeding, turning, kind of some driving too fast, aggressive driving are some kind of common themes that we heard from the community. We also use that input from the community to help us identify challenge areas. And when we say challenge areas, this isn't a specific geographic location. These are more topics or crash patterns that we're seeing that are contributing to those fatalities and serious injuries. So this table here shows the list of 13 challenge areas that Caltrans has identified statewide that they are focusing on to address safety. And from those, we asked at each of our community events for people to pick their top 3. So if their plan could only address 3 of these challenge areas, what do they think would make the biggest impact in making them feel safer? And you can see the total votes across the whole region where people voted. And we use that to kind of refine this list of challenge areas for each individual plan. So this is a really big table. You don't have to strain your eyes. You're not intended to be able to read all the text on here, but this is just a visual representation of the process that we went through to come up with what we're calling safe system strategies. And these are not engineering projects. This isn't location specific in terms of installing this treatment at this intersection. These are policies, programs, kind of broad level strategies that we can take on to really prioritize safety within our agencies and within our communities. So we came up with 22 individual strategies, and those are represented by the rows in this matrix. And then the columns are those 13 challenge areas that I just mentioned. So Doug just highlighted a couple, and I can walk through. So what we did when we put this matrix together is the darker the color in that square means that that specific strategy is directly addressing that challenge area. So this was a way for us to really visualize how effective these strategies were going to be at addressing the challenge areas in Monterey County. So row 6 here that's highlighted is strategy number 6. And you can see that it directly addresses 6 different challenge areas, but it also has kind of a secondary or partial effect on all but one challenge area. So with one single strategy, we're looking at addressing 12 of the 13 challenge areas where we can really improve safety. And then looking at a column, you can kind of do the same thing. Looks like this is bicyclists that's highlighted here. And we can say maybe we have half a dozen strategies that are intended specifically to address bicyclist safety. But man, we have a whole slew of them that are providing a secondary benefit, maybe by improving the ability to prioritize safety projects of all kinds for all road users, including bicyclists. So what this really highlights as a takeaway message is we've thoughtfully come up with this list of strategies that are going to, with one single effort, allow us to really hit on a bunch of the different challenges that we're facing and mitigate that risk for crashes in the future. And then this is my last slide. This is the final page of all of the plans that we're producing. This is some text that the TAMC team came up with, and I think it's really meaningful and impactful. So I'll read it out loud. This is our call to action. And it says, we all have a shared responsibility to keep ourselves and others safe when we travel. Infrastructure matters, but so do the choices we make every day. Whether you are behind the wheel, on a bike, or walking, each of us plays a role by slowing down, staying alert, and respecting the rules of the road. Together, we can build a culture where getting home safely is the expectation every time for everyone. And I think this is just a really powerful way to tie up each of these safety action plans and share that message with everyone who might pick it up and read it. So I will hand it back to Doug.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that Lacey grew up in South County, so she's connected to this area, and it's been a really good focus. And the words she used are very strong. She's a great leader on this project and done a great job to get something that connects. And I think when you do see the individual action plans for your jurisdiction, you'll see that touch. And really kudos to Lacey for getting a really strong team together and taking all this data-driven and linking it to community values, I think. And when you see these plans, I think you'll see that. But at this point, we're bringing it to you, not to look at the plan yet. It's going to be a three-step process, basically. And one of the challenges is that you have to make a commitment as part of each of these action plans. And what that commitment is, it's reflected in a vision statement. So we have to have a vision statement, it has to have a commitment, and the whole project is Vision Zero. So we want to get to zero fatalities and zero serious injuries. So what we are proposing, we could be much more specific, but we think at a general level, this is a good vision statement that not only TAMC can use, but then we can use it as a template for each of the jurisdictions that have to approve it. They can use a different statement, but before we go and circulate it, we think the right way to do it is have the board here look at this, come up with a vision statement that starts as the default one for all the other agencies. So the vision statement starts with TAMC believes that everyone deserves to arrive home safely. To achieve this vision, TAMC has set an ambitious but achievable goal to reduce fatal and serious injuries by 30% by 2030, with the ultimate goal of eliminating fatal and serious injuries by 2040. So safety is our highest priority, and this pledge is really going to drive, I think, we hope, a lot of different projects and programs that we do here at TAMC. So with that, next steps, we will be circulating. We expedited a couple of these plans so that agencies could go for the next round of Safe Streets for All funding, which is, it hasn't been circulated yet, but our intent, we think that it's going to be a very short turnaround till like June. And so a couple agencies said, we're ready to go with those applications. So we expedited that. They're looking at theirs. DKS team is going to have the drafts out for internal circulation for us April, and then we'll get them out to all of you, and then we'll bring this back either May or June with a draft, and then hopefully you can all bring it to your individual jurisdictions June. So we hope we could stagger these a little bit and get these out to all the agencies so that I'd be happy to come in there and make a presentation similar to this with the individual data for your jurisdiction so that you can adopt these safety action plans and open the door for future funding. So with that, the requested action is to adopt the proposed vision statement for regional safety action plans.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Lacey, for sharing and driving this initiative. We'll go out to questions. Go ahead, Mr. LeBar.
Thank you, Chair. I do appreciate the presentation, and it's something I think that we definitely should be moving forward to. I do have a concern on the ambitious vision statement, because one, we're what, 3.5 years from 2030? And with no projects in place that we could at least see could define that, that would just be a concern. The 2040 is not a concern for me. But I also would like to see more information, especially on the rural roads, of when those, are these nighttime or daytime? Where's the preponderance of these injuries and accidents? One thing I didn't see, which is a big concern for me, which is on Metz Road, it is actual striping that you don't even, it gets so faded, you don't even know where the edge of the road is anymore. And so I would like to know if there was a correlation between that, the striping portion and accidents on, because if 5% of our roads are creating 75% of the accidents, I would definitely want to know more about the condition of those roads, what those accidents, why they happened, if those were speed related, were they just people not seeing where they're at? Because Metz Road for many, many years, I've always felt has been a problem. And it's not the speeding, it's the actual ability to see the edge of the road. And then you get some weeds that come over. It gives you a little bit of safety, but it's right there on the edge. The same goes going out, what is that, Mesa Verde? Or Bitterwater, past our airport, heading out towards Bitterwater. Once you get past city limits, again, the striping goes away. And then until you get into San Benito County, all of a sudden the striping is completely visible. So I would love to learn more about that, because we should be looking, all the items that were identified are important, but we should be looking at road conditions and having a matrix exactly on those rural roads of time of day, what type of accidents would help us identify those, especially in our areas as we develop our plans, the proper things that will alleviate those. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess piggybacking on the comment that was just made, I think that I'm really curious and interested in more data. I think the data around like what really are the things that we do have control over. In my mind, it comes with sort of that those are the early 30% by 2030. I think it's an ambitious goal, and it says it's ambitious. It's an ambitious goal, but immediately if we start looking into some of the data as over the next few years, I think there are some spaces where we could have very low investment changes that have huge outcomes and huge improvements. The data around like where are those serious accidents occurring, and then what time of day, what are the other conditions that we need to be understanding. But I think setting a goal like this and then working towards that allows us to then have those conversations. I think they're important ones to have. I also just wanted to say I'm super supportive of this concept. I think that the balance that Vision Zero has around it piggybacks on the work that we're doing with Safe Routes to School, where we're not just saying it's on the child's responsibility to navigate a complex system of spaces. There really are these infrastructure pieces that go along with what's happening. And there are things that we can do so you're not even thinking about driving slower, but the way that the road engages you, you're driving slower, you're paying more attention, you're looking in the direction of where the person's going to be stepping off of the road. So I think it is that I like Vision Zero because it gets to some of those infrastructure pieces and doesn't put all of the responsibility on a driver to just say, don't speed, but when you're driving on a straight road that's 50 feet wide with nothing to slow you down, you're going to speed. Like just the design is going to allow you to drive differently. Or for a person walking, I didn't look both ways, but when the sidewalk curves me and forces me to like take 2 steps, towards incoming traffic before I have to then cross, I'm by default looking at the incoming traffic. There's so many things like that that I think we can make improvements on, and I think this is the right step forward. So I support the data, more data, but I think this is the policy piece that allows us to then have those further conversations.
Yes, go ahead.
I really think, this is an important work. And Salinas, we can kind of put this into perspective pretty easily. I don't like either number, but, the last couple of years, we've had more traffic fatalities than we've had gang homicides. So that just kind of puts this into perspective in my mind. And I like the phrase that was used, getting much more specific. I did a ride along with the fire department the other night, and so as typically happens, of course, when apparently it's a tradition in Salinas, when the mayor does a ride along with the fire department, nothing happens. So we got to in the station talked with a number of firefighters, and brought up this issue of because we had a fatality late at night, early in the morning, and 3 different cars hit a bicyclist. And so I asked the department, can you give me some specifics, or what are your observations about these incidents? And what I thought was interesting is, and I think it just continues to hammer home this issue of whether it's distracted driving expanded to distracted mobility, but the firefighters, they said it's kind of interesting, when people are doing distracted driving and doing this, when they see a police officer, it goes down. But they said, we're on top of everything. They're not afraid of us because we're not going to get pulled over by a fire truck. And so we can see down, and the amount of distracted driving is a real issue. But then I asked, can you give me the profile of these incidents? And tended to be at night. It tended, a lot of times it was somebody who was homeless, not to put say that in a pejorative standpoint, but they just said that, and a lot of dark clothing. So that speaks to clothing, but and so that kind of teed up, because I talked to our street outreach folks, and they said, well, if that's the case, we might be able, when we do our street outreach, we know who has bicycles, and at least, a reflector or something like that. So my only point is, each community will have their specifics. But if you think about it in Salinas, if let's say we have eight fatalities, could that number go to 5 by 2030? That might not be an unreasonable expectation or hope. So I just want to underscore, and I think we all, we've had a lot of conversations with the mayors, that this is particularly important work. And so I just want to applaud that. And I think tying in, certainly from my perspective, this is something Salinas would like to work closely with TAMC on to really amplify and educate on this. So, good
Thank you, Mr.
presentation,
Sidor.
and I want to echo what Wendy said.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sidoric.
Thank you, Chair. This question, I think, is more directed at Lacey, but also there's a little editorializing that's about to occur, so apologize in advance. Public transit is the safest form of surface transportation by a long stretch, and the data is there to prove it. It's submitted to the federal government, all traffic safety statistics. So it's safer than walking, safer than biking, safer than driving. What I see in your call to action is whether you're going to get behind the wheel on a bike or walking. Taking transit is also a choice. So what I would encourage and would ask if Caltrans has, I was looking at your strategies, does Caltrans have in their strategies improving safety in and around public transit facilities? I have seen around the state and here locally, road designs being approved to new subdivisions that are too narrow for a public transit bus to travel within the lanes.
I've seen roundabouts designed that do not allow a public transit vehicle to go through the roundabout, forcing the vehicle then to take a detour around, making it less convenient and less of a choice. I know I've talked to Todd, and Todd is looking at here locally ways to review plans to make certain that MST has the opportunity to review these types of plans. But I just want to highlight, underscore the seriousness of making certain that we have adequate and plan for adequate transit infrastructure so that we can have our citizens make a safe choice and can walk and bike to the transit facility and use transit safely as well. Thank you.
If I could, that is a really key point. I want to echo that, and that was something I've challenged our team to put in, and something as, you know, how many cars do we take off the street by people in buses? How many of those cars would have possibly gotten into collisions? So we acknowledge, and we're going to emphasize the fact that bus is the safest form of travel on our roads, and that it is reducing collisions by people using the service. So thanks for pointing that out.
Thank you. Any further comments? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm that the 200 plus 270, whatever, that includes within cities too. It's all in Monterey County. Okay. I thought it would be helpful to let the jurisdictions know the numbers for their community, because I think we all might want to be helping, you know, reduce the numbers. And if I knew which cities, which streets, locations in Marina were the worst problems, probably there's a way to focus on those within our city. But if we're not aware of it, you know, this is really gripping data for everybody to see, you know, not just us, but any public too. So anyway, I think sharing it as much as possible with jurisdictions might get the jurisdictions moving a little better.
Yeah, if I could, it's a good point. And so right now we're trying to get each individual customized plan out. So first we wanted to get a vision statement for that. And then each of your jurisdictions will have its own rows. If you remember that table, we feel that TAMC should take the role of, let's say, on education, setting websites, things like that. That'll be our role. For a city, it'll be different. You don't have the resources to do some of these things. So each city is going to have a different table that we showed you and a different tool to apply. So we're working with each jurisdiction staff, and they are identifying, you know, problem areas and what needs to be done for that. And each individual jurisdiction will have its own safety action plan customized. And then ours will be more of, how do we look at this, you know, DUIs in the region? You know, maybe we could attack that better as a regional approach, as instead of each individual jurisdiction trying to enforce that. So I hope that kind of makes sense on why we're bringing this to you now, so that later we could give you all sorts of data and trends and things like that. But we thought, let's do this as steps. So we just want to introduce this at this point. We think that's enough information to get to this point for a vision statement. I will bring back a draft and we'll dig deep into those in an upcoming meeting.
All right, I agree with the sort of top-down policy. I think that that's the right direction. Thinking about what Mike said, that 2030 is ambitious. We're in budget times now, this month, and the budgets come out, you know, by June 30th. So if the city councils knew in their respective jurisdiction where the worst fatality locations were, they could get on it sooner than waiting for this to go through the public works directors and then somehow get back to city council. I just think that sharing the location data would help my city get funding in that direction as soon as possible.
Yeah, you should be having the drafts. Lacey, could you tell us when all the drafts are due to the jurisdictions?
Yeah, the drafts will be out to everybody by the end of April. That's our goal for each plan that we're generating. But I also wanted to mention that on the TAMC website, under the Vision Zero project, there is an online GIS map that shows all of the crash data for all of the whole county by crash severity. So anybody can go on right now and see where the crashes are happening in your specific city or in the rural area. And that's accessible now if you'd like to do that too. And we can also send out a table. We've got all of that. We've shared it with our task force. We can share that out to a broader group with the actual crash numbers for each jurisdiction as well, if that would be helpful.
What's the name of that website?
Well, if you just go on to the TAMC, if you just put in Vision Zero in the search engine, you'll find it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Oglesby.
I think I'm just wondering about the little wordsmithing here, right? As TAMC, when we talk about arrive home, that's like only one direction. You're going home. And I think we're more broader when we talk about, just travel safely. That's what I want to get to, arriving home, that's just one direction, that's just one thought. When most of the people on the roads are handling their business, they're traveling, to wherever they're going. They're not going home. 2/3 of the time, you're not going home, going somewhere, going to work, you're leaving home. And I just think we should just broaden that to they should be travel safely. TAMC believes that everyone deserves to travel safely, as opposed to, linking it home, as opposed to somehow it's about you getting home safe at night, when our responsibility is to get you to where you're going, including home, throughout the day. So I want the commission to think about that.
Understood. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, in the category of wordsmithing, thank you, Ian. So the first line, I keep reading it, and the but bothers me. When I write mission statements in my occupation and I work with police departments, we talk about having succinct and positive mission statements and vision statements. I think the but should be removed and it should be and I understand it's writing, it makes sense, but it changes the meaning for me. To achieve this vision, TAMC has set an ambitious and achievable goal, which is a positive statement that we commit to these goals. Rather than setting the first stage of the sentence to be negative, I would rather it be a positive statement. And so that's just a minor suggestion. And I agree with Ian's. It's about the safe travel, whether you're work or school, home. You go home, you drop off the kids, and you go back out. So it really is truly the entire experience that we have with our vehicles. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I didn't have any, I didn't participate in drafting this, so I'll just start with that. And I think we could probably spend a lot of time wordsmithing here. I think what we have is like pretty solid. And the one thing I'll just comment on is ultimately at the end of the day, everyone wants to arrive home safely wherever your travels took you. And the arriving home part for me actually did stick out to me because there's an emotional connection to that. When I think about arriving home, it's at the end of my day. It's the place where I go to be with my family. And we have a friend who's literally in the trauma center at Natividad right now, having been in an accident outside of King City last weekend. And he wasn't driving home, but he's not coming home safely. And so it was a set of words that really connected me emotionally to what's in front of us. And I think there's, I could always sit down and edit whatever I'm looking at, but for the sake of moving this forward and having it be something that we're all aligned with, the content of what's in front of us, for me, really, I think it works. And I think it sets us up to say, this is where we're going. This is where we're all aligned. These are the aligned visions that we share. So not to downplay any of the wordsmithing suggestions, but I'm going to suggest and just move that we approve the statement as it's written and adopt the agency's update on the Regional Vision Zero Safety Action Plan that can be used as a template for other jurisdictions.
Wendy, would you be
On the question.
amenable to a friendly amendment?
Sure.
Through the chair? If staff agreed with the but switching to and, would you be okay with that?
Well, then I would add my amendment. This, through the chair, on the question, right? We say we don't want to wordsmith, but this is our statement. So it should be wordsmith. That's the first thing. You say we shouldn't downplay those suggestions, but then you downplay these suggestions. my only point is, we want everyone to get home. But as TAMC, our responsibility is to travel on the roads, no matter where you're going. So whether you get in an accident on your way home or you get in an accident on your way to work, we want you to travel safely. And that was my only point, right? That was it. And so I'll leave the rest to the board.
One more, John.
Go ahead.
Yes. And I agree. To get back home sounds great, but we also have disadvantaged persons who who have a home, who are out there walking through the streets. So they don't have a home. So I think that we should look at everybody, whether you have a home or not. Thank you.
Go ahead.
If I could, this is not adopting the statement right now, it's a starting point. So this is what we're going to circulate and what will be included in everybody's action plan as a starting point. And what we come up with today would be what comes out in the draft.
Sorry, Doug, this is TAMC board adopting the statement.
That is a formal adopted, then, okay.
So they could change it later in the final version if they want.
Right.
But
Right.
this action would be to adopt this at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Church.
Yeah, I hate to get in, I'm more of this, as it is kind of wordsmithing, but I do think, the two suggestions on the and the travel are important, but I like to have realistic goals too, and I like to bring up a third thing, but to the idea of eliminating fatal and serious injuries is a great idea by 2040. I think we should have realistic goals. I think about 1 in 100 people die in this country from auto accidents. In the 1970s, it was 1 out of 50. We're making good, solid progress, but to know that we're going to go to 0 by 2040, I believe in achievable goals. We're not going to achieve it. I know that. I mean, I just don't see how it's possible. As great of an idea as it is. So we have to look at realism.
Thank you. If I may, so I think there's two, just from, I know I don't want to get into wordsmith either, but noting board members' comments here, I think we've said ambitious but achievable. I mean, the but achievable can be removed altogether and just say set an ambitious goal. And that's why we're saying ambitious for 30% by 2030, ambitious for 0 by 2040. I think but achievable appears to be like superfluous. But having said that, I think my view is that if we don't set ambitious goals, we're never going to get there. If we aim for less, we're going to get less. So we should the 30 resonates with me, the 100% resonates with me too. And I think from a overall standpoint, TAMC believes that everyone deserves, I think somebody made a comment that somebody does not have a home. I could argue that somebody does not have the means to travel either because they don't have transport. So there could be other avenues here that sentence may not reflect correctly across the community. But I think we should come together as a group to say that, okay, we're making a vision statement. There's always room for improvement. We can come back to revise that vision statement. And so that's where I am is let's go with the vision statement as is. Possibly that, but achievable, we can remove it and then move forward. But open to thoughts.
That's the motion that's on the table.
Okay.
A couple things, if I may, Chair. First of all, I think we need to take this to public comment, but secondly, I'm a little lost on where we are with the motion. We have a motion. What is the motion?
Which is what's in front of us with a friendly amendment to change but to and.
But to and, so there was, it sounded like a couple of suggested amendments, but those were not motions to amend. Those were just conversation. Am I understanding that correctly?
I'll move a second amendment to take home out and say travel safely. If there's no second for that, then that's okay. But
I'll second. So just to, yeah, there's a second, that's okay.
Okay, so there's,
Point of order.
Yeah.
Parliamentarian.
Yes.
If it's a friendly amendment, I think the motion maker has to accept, and then the seconder has to hold their second.
That's right. And so friendly amendments are recognized under Rosenberg's rules. We are under Robert's rules. Friendly amendments can be accepted, but this was not a friendly amendment. With a motion to amend, that needs to be voted on first. And then if it passes, the original motion will be considered. If it fails, well, or will not be considered. If it does pass, then we consider the original motion. So we need to have public comment. I'm hearing it to my left, and that's right. I would recommend that we take it to public comment, then take this vote on this change about arriving home, and then proceed after that.
Okay, so the suggestion is to go to public comment first, so let's do that first. Anybody from public wishing to comment on this matter?
Great presentation. Again, I'm Ana Luz Acevedo Cabrera. The part of me that's a former civil engineer and former product engineer definitely appreciates the effort that's been behind this. And there's something to be said about data sharing. I definitely want to echo that. There's so much collaboration that can happen with the data to identify the low-hanging fruit. I did want to emphasize the point about public transit because I think that is a really important way to achieve the goals that are set out here. I will point out the part about public transit is if we can make sure that it's safe for people to take it. And I don't just mean it, the transportation aspect of it, because I think we have that, done, and there's a lot to be, it's really close to what it could be as far as perfect goes. But I mean in the sense that for the average person, for women and children to feel comfortable going to the stations to take the buses. Because of maybe the types of people that are hanging around those spaces don't make it comfortable for the average person to take more public transit. And if we can increase ridership for public transit, I think we are saving a lot of potential people's lives that could end up in a car crash. So I think that's a huge potential that needs to be explored further if the time and the investment could be made there. But I think the public safety aspect of it has to be closely tied to it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Eric Peterson, and as those around me know, I'm a big fan of Vision Zero, mostly because it works. An example I've cited here before was Oslo, Norway. Major city, 650,000 people, national capital. A few years ago, they went to 0 pedestrian fatalities, 0 cycling fatalities, and 1 motorist. That's pretty good. I've noticed though locally the plans we've had are a little short on a big part of Vision Zero. There's a police component. And since everybody's short on police, that tends to get left out. I do have a question. And what is the definition of a serious injury? Because I've been over the years in a bunch of bicycle crashes one way or another, and usually just get up, dust myself off and keep going. But the word serious is serious. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Anybody online? Okay, I do not see anybody online. All right, I'll close public comment and come back to where we were. We had a second amendment. So for, I think I need whoever was the maker of the motion and the second amendment to reflect what are we actually voting on here?
Thank you, Chair. We're voting to change the word home to travel safely and take out the word but.
Put an end.
Was it? I'm sorry, replace the but with the and. Just 2 simple little steps.
Okay, and we had a first and a second, so any discussion on those items? If not, let's go for a roll call vote, please. Ian and Church. Yeah, go ahead.
Question.
Yes.
Are we voting to approve the vision statement with the changed wording, or are we voting to
change the original motion? I guess this question is for Shane.
Yeah, it is, and the chair is capable of answering, but you're voting for the amendment, so that would change the original motion to accepting it. My understanding is the original motion was to accept it, but change but to and that this amendment is to, yes, do the and, but to strike arrive home.
Sorry, I can accept that. We don't have to do two votes. If there's a friendly amendment, like I can accept the friendly amendment. I'm just trying to move us forward. So if we can, is it a friendly amendment? No, it's a substitute motion.
Well, no, I'm not sure where we're at right now, but it was an amendment because the first friendly suggestion was not taken. And
It
so,
was taken.
and
It's
so-
taken. It's taken if the second holds it. It's
Second
taken.
holds. to change it to what then, through the chair? What does
So,
it say?
so the way I have it is, the statement, with what we're voting right now is to adopt the vision statement, and whatever was outlined in the agenda, with the changes being that it says TAMC believes that everyone deserves to travel safely. And to achieve this vision, TAMC has set an ambitious and achievable goal to reduce fatal and serious injuries by 30% by 2030, with the ultimate goal of eliminating fatal and serious injuries by 2040. That's what we're voting on right now.
And is it a substitute motion or is it the original motion that's been altered with this friendly amendment?
The way I read it is it's been altered, but did you make a substitute motion?
Yeah, yes, we did. Yeah.
Okay, so
I would recommend just going to the vote on the substitute motion, despite I understand that we're all friendly and we want to get it done, but just procedurally, if we could proceed.
Okay.
So to answer the question, my recommendation would be to take a motion to amend the original motion of by striking arrive home with travel.
Just vote on the substitute and we're done.
okay, all in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. The motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 5, the Regional Vision Zero Action Plan. Item number 6, Programming Guidelines and Competitive Grants. Ms. Strauss.
Good morning. Just want to make sure I can do my clicker. See. Okay, I can. Yay. I'm Yannicka Strauss. I'm a senior transportation planner, and today I'm going to be presenting to you the 2026 competitive grant program. And we will be asking for the board to approve our fund estimate, as well as a master funding agreement template that the cities and jurisdictions that are receiving funds will need in order to receive those funds. And then an update to our grant guidelines and application. So we'll review the program. We will present to you the fund estimate. I will go through the changes that we're proposing for the guidelines and application. We'll review the timeline and next steps. So we use 2 different fund sources for our competitive grant program. That's the Regional Surface Transportation Program, as well as the Transportation Development Act 2% funds. Projects that are eligible for these funds are highway projects, local streets, bike and pedestrian, and some transit projects. The cycle that we are discussing today is fiscal year 26-27 through 28-29. These funds are distributed every 3 years. The last cycle was in fiscal year 23-24. And so today we will be discussing the 2026 cycle. So the competitive grant program has several goals, and these have been adopted by the TAMC board in 2017 with its strategic planning process and its goals and objectives. And that is that we fund projects that are ready for construction or demonstrate readiness. They are able to leverage matching funds. There's a fair geographic distribution of these funds, and they demonstrate a project need with congestion relief or safety benefits. and that there is cost effectiveness and system connectivity with the proposed projects. A little bit of background on how we have funded projects in the last several cycles. So in 2020, we distributed $10,547,000 to the projects or to the cities that are listed below. In 2023, we distributed $10,538,000 to the cities listed below there. And then in 2025, we distributed a mid-cycle grant. So that was between the 2023 grant cycle and the 2026 grant cycle. We distributed $11,407,698. And there is a link on this slide, which these slides are on the TAMC website. There is a link that takes you to the website that has all of this information on that website webpage. Now the clicker stopped working. Okay. So this is our estimate of available funds. This is a combination of the Regional Surface Transportation Program funds that we estimate to receive from the state in fiscal years 26, 27 through 28, 29, and we estimate $19,200,000. We also estimate just over $1 million of Transportation Development Act 2% funds over those 3 fiscal years. And then we've also deprogrammed projects, and there was a balance from our previous competitive grant cycle totaling $693,954. So the total to distribute would be $20,940,954. So this is our recommended distribution, and the TAMC board has a policy to reserve 10% of the Regional Surface Transportation Program funds for projects that come up in between cycles. Some examples are the Safe Routes to School participatory budgeting projects are funded from the reserve, as well as our regional wayfinding program, and also some TAMC operating costs. And the board also has a policy to distribute $3,600,000 each cycle to local jurisdictions in a formula share. So that's centerline miles and population calculation to distribute those funds. And then the balance goes to our competitive grant program. So we have a large competitive grant distributes $13,423,954. And then we're also recommending setting aside up to $2 million for a quick build pilot project grant application. So new in this cycle, we actually took the draft guidelines to a committee formed of technical advisory committee members and the bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee members to review those draft guidelines, the application, and they provided critical feedback. This was last fall. And those comments have been incorporated into the guidelines and application that were part of this packet. So I wanted to point out two items that for our competitive grant application, all projects must meet screening criteria to be eligible for funds. So all of the projects, whether they're the competitive application, quick build, or pilot, they must all be consistent with an adopted plan, such as the Safe Routes to School plan that you heard about earlier today, or the Vision Zero plan. There's also a timely use of funds component where for the competitive projects, they must be implemented within 3 years, and the quick build and pilot projects must be implemented within 2 years. So now we're going to get into our proposed changes to the guidelines and application. So we did include a quick build project application in the last cycle, but we have made some changes to it, some additions. So it's still a competitive application. And the purpose is to quickly address safety needs and improve comfort for people biking and walking. We are now going to be proposing dividing the funds into two different applications, one for a quick build application and one for a pilot project application. The quick build application is meant for projects that are deemed as non-controversial. They are already part of an adopted plan, and staff of the jurisdiction have received enough public comment that they feel that this project can be implemented easily. And that can be implemented during, for example, during a regular pavement maintenance project. For the pilot project, this is where a local jurisdiction may want to test a new concept on a road, and it may be potentially controversial. So it still needs to be in an adopted plan, but it is, like I said, testing a new concept, maybe reducing the number of lanes on a roadway and installing protected bike lanes, removing parking, those types of projects that may be more controversial. And because of this controversial nature, we're requiring that the pilot projects do a before and after study and ongoing outreach throughout the project. And TAMC staff will support local jurisdictions with that. So going into the before and after study a little bit more. So our only change with this, in the last cycle, projects were required to do a before and after study as well. But the change that we're proposing is that all projects except the quick build projects are required to do the before and after study. So if a project is being proposed as a quick build project and it is going to be implemented during a pavement maintenance project, we are not requiring a before and after study. And just to highlight that the before and after study is really aligned with the stated project benefits. So each application, there's a narrative of what the project benefits are. The before and after study measures the items that are stated in the project benefits as, the outcome of these projects. So in addition to the competitive grant application is a pedestrian level of traffic stress analysis tool. So in the 2023 application, we asked jurisdictions to use a bicycle level of traffic stress analysis tool to determine what the change in level of traffic stress would be for a proposed project. And so we actually heard that from local jurisdiction staff that if they were not going to be implementing bicycle infrastructure, but they were going to be improving the pedestrian infrastructure, then they wouldn't be scored well on that component. And so we've added a pedestrian level of traffic stress tool. And again, TAMC staff is available to support local jurisdictions in the entire grant application, but also specifically in using the tool and determining the change in benefit. So these are the final program changes we are recommending. That is that we've added to all three of the applications that projects will be scored on whether they are on the high injury network, which you just heard in the previous presentation. We've also added a scope change component where if minor scope changes to projects after projects are funded require approval and major scope changes are not allowed. And then finally, to the screening criteria, we've added that projects must coordinate with relevant stakeholders, such as MST if it's on a transit route, or Caltrans, or schools if it's near a school. So we also wanted to remind the board of our equitable jurisdiction support. So we support jurisdictions equitably. And we do that through a number of ways. The first is that we score all of our applications on whether it's benefiting a disadvantaged community. So our competitive application, there are 2 questions up to 10 points out of 100 for if the project is benefiting a disadvantaged community, and the quick build and pilot application up to 15 points out of 100. We also, during the review of the grant applications and when we determine our recommended projects for funding, TAMC staff ensures that there is geographic diversity with the funding recommendations. We also, as I've mentioned multiple times already, staff supports jurisdictions with their grant applications. So this, of course, needs to happen before the grant deadline, but we will review applications. We will answer any questions. If there are any questions that the jurisdiction doesn't know how to answer, we will work with them to do that. We also have offered our on-call traffic engineering services to local jurisdictions to review their striping plans that they produce every year, to recommend quick build projects that could be implemented during a pavement maintenance project. And then after a project is awarded, we also provide support to local jurisdictions to review plans to make sure that they are meeting their project benefits. So this is the timeline. Today, we're asking you to approve the guidelines and policies, and we will release a call for projects. In May, I will be going to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee to recruit members for our review committee. Applications are due June 5th. The committee will review will finalize their review by the end of June, and then we will go back to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee in August to present our recommendation for which projects to fund, and then we will come back to the TAMC board for final approval of those funding recommendations. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate the thorough presentation, Yannicke, and this item does not require wordsmithing, so hopefully we'll get through soon. But Mayor LeBar, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you again for the presentation. So a couple questions on the implementation of the Vision Zero components. You referenced that it is when it's accessing the high injury network that was presented in the prior presentation.
Yeah, the application is scored on whether the project is on the high injury network.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when most of our applications, or all the applications that we receive, do any of the applications ever hit 100 points?
I have not seen that,
Okay.
but I've only done 2 cycles now, so. Okay.
So just one thing to consider. So we just set an ambitious goal, and it would be good to know an average cost of a Vision Zero plan. Like, a lot of the times, is it going to just be intersection striping or painting? Does that help a lot? Because this could be a component where we either add an extra 5 points if it's meeting your city's adopted Vision Zero plan that is in alignment with TAMC's plan, and maybe there's an allocation, and I hate to throw this at you at the last minute, but maybe that's a way you incentivize getting to that 30% goal, is carving out $500,000 that could be specifically used off the high injury network, but into a city's plan if they're already doing a project and this would meet something that's adopted. And just trying to throw it out there because we need to, if it's going to be ambitious, then we need to incentivize the ability to achieve that. Thank you, Chair.
So in the quick build and pilot set aside essentially does what you're asking, because they are designed for projects that are easier to implement, and they also get extra points if they're on the high injury network. And we've also this has all gone through the Technical Advisory Committee. The high injury network has all gone to the Technical Advisory Committee so that we're all working from the same page trying to implement identifying ways to reduce those locations that are the most impactful. So there is, with that quick build pilot, and then just the scoring within the overall competitive program, it does have that focus. So I think we're doing what you're looking for.
Somewhat. The only thing I would highlight is not every city is in the high injury network, because it looked like the plan showed a lot of the rural streets, 5% of the roads had 75% of the accidents, and that was considered the high injury network, correct?
The presentation that Doug shared was focused on getting consensus on the goal statement. There's a lot more detail for each jurisdiction that wasn't shared in this presentation that shows that there are high injury network locations.
In every jurisdiction?
Correct.
Okay. Then comment stands, I still believe that even if something, let's say a project aligned with something just adjacent to a high injury network within your city, but it made sense to do it with that project at that time, there should be extra points, or we should look at the ability to add a few extra points if it's meeting a city's adopted Vision Zero plan that's in alignment with TAMC's plan. And that's just something to consider. Thank you. Since
Okay,
it's in
thank you.
3 years.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the board? Seeing none, can we go out to public comment?
Feel like I'm just taking over because I happen to be here. So I just wanted to say that there's two things to consider. One, that I did see the list and a good majority of the funding goes towards cities, but there's a lot of places, and in the example of North County, that don't happen to be a city, but there's a huge need, and they're big connecting points between, in the example of North County, connecting Santa Cruz County to Monterey County. So I just wanted to highlight that piece. The other piece is the conversation around bike safety. This is something I actually reached out to Caltrans about, because it's not just about saying, oh yes, there's going to be a bike path here, but it's also about having a protected bike lane. So if there's any of this that could be included to have more protected bike lanes, especially if they're right next to the sidewalk, then the bike lane, then the parking, then the road. I think that helps both with slowing down traffic because it's a more constrained space, and also encouraging more biking and protecting citizens. So those are the two big things I wanted to point out. Otherwise, I think it's great work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Name is Eric Peterson, and just a few quick statistics. One is we cause most of our own crashes. Two, most crashes happen at what are called contact points, meaning intersections, driveways, things like that, not actually in the open road. And that is a big problem with dealing with things. I'm remembering back during the discussion, a guy knew blew a stop sign at about 30, 35 miles an hour and didn't survive. That is an example of our biggest problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments? Anybody online?
No.
I see none online. All comments are duly noted. I think Mayor LaBar will work through your suggestion as we move along. But this is an item which has looked like 4 approvals, and I understand we can make one motion to approve all the 4 items.
Motion to approve staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay, I have 2 seconds. Okay, we'll go with Mayor White. Right, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody oppose? Thank you. The next item is item number 7. Mr. Bilsey received status report on the projects addressing traffic issues along SR 68 corridor.
Yes, this is another project similar to Vision Zero where it is quite complex. And so we're breaking these things up so that we bring the board up to speed on what we're doing before we make bigger decisions. So there's a lot going on Highway 68. This presentation, we want to give you a status report on the adaptive, some people call it AI signal project, introduce upcoming roundabout decisions we're intending to make, and review the expenses on the roundabout design, and then gather your input, help us direct discussions that are going to be coming up soon. To give you a reference point, the red dots here are the signalized intersections on scenic Highway 68 between Reservation Road and Highway 1. And the blue, these blue bridges here, these are the proposed wildlife crossings. So we'll get to that, but those are that's just a location. And then we talk about phase one, we're talking about the eastern 3 intersections here that are being proposed to be installed as roundabouts. So the status of the AI signal project, the signal equipment has been installed. Staff is now in training. There was a training session that started yesterday. This is a pretty complex system, not necessarily to learn, but to understand and know what it's doing. We can call it artificial intelligence, but at the end of the day, the staff has a lot of work to do with this. It's not a push a button and walk away. So there's a lot of training that needs to be done. During that time, staff's going to set up peak hour traffic conditions using the new system. Seems simple, but just replicating what was out there is a task, and then collecting new data that they've never collected before. So they have to learn how to collect that data, and that's going to be done in April while they're learning the new system. And then adaptive operations are intended to be implemented in May. And the peak hour traffic, the after conditions need to be taken while school's in session to be realistic. So to compare it with what's collected in April. So we want to collect the adaptive operations in place, optimized before school lets out in May. We're going to bring back preliminary results with a before and after study of the peak hour. So it's going to take a real long time for us to really get an assessment of this adaptive, Laguna Seca events, collisions, things like that. But we think we can come back just with a typical peak hour assessment and bring it back to the board in May, maybe June, depending on how things go. And then we will continue gathering the special events data, anything like that in the rest of the year. And we don't have a date, but a final evaluation, we're anticipating to get that done soon after we feel like we have a good assessment of the system. So just to give you background, is this going to finish everything? Does it solve all the issues? Well, there are challenges with signals. You usually get good flow in only one direction. It's really hard to get really good coordination in both directions. About 10 to 20% of the time, there's just a green light with no car getting served. When you're going eastbound and westbound, if you look at it in the morning, westbound on 68 is just packed, and every second of that green light is used. Coming back eastbound, sometimes you'll just see gaps of a few seconds here and there. So not all of the green time is there being used, but that's the way a system works. There's some high maintenance costs, including the electricity bill, and then every month you have to go and check on each intersection just to see if it's running okay. What do adaptive signals do? AI, what is that? Why do it? What you see here is, there's a camera on the top of each, at each corner of each intersection, and it's observing traffic. So it can coordinate green lights to serve primary traffic flow. It can kind of determine these which way is going to be optimized. It can allocate the time that each movement gets green and adjust that. It can adjust the coordination pattern as the traffic changes. And again, the peak hour, we're going to focus on that. It really doesn't change a whole lot. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I go out there, it looks pretty much the same. So adaptive is really more focused on the off-peak and the special events and things that you don't anticipate. And what's really neat about this is we haven't talked about this too much, but the company that we selected, MyoVision, just bought out TTS, which has links to smart vehicles. So we'll be looking at that, but I believe, my understanding is some cars like an Audi can actually interact with the signal information and get a recommended speed. So it's a little bit there, but that's just kind of neat. You know, it's setting us up for future, and I think connected vehicles, smart vehicles are really going to help a bit with congestion down in the future. So how do we evaluate adaptive AI signals? I put this up here to be confusing because it really is. These are all what traffic engineers spend hours and hours. I've probably spent 10 years learning this time-space diagram and another 10 years perfecting it, and it's hard. This is new information. All this information comes in, and I don't think this board wants to understand all that. So when we come back to you and say, how's AI working? It's going to be somehow interpreting this and saying, well, how many cars arrive when the light's green? And how many do they arrive before it turns red? We're going to try and get this at a very high level, but it could get really technical. But we do know that we've heard travel time is a big improvement, you know, or improving travel time is critical. But again, that is a balance. And nobody wants to go into a time-space diagram in detail at this point, I don't think. The roundabout project. So the Transportation Safety Investment Plan that was adopted in 2016 allocated $50 million for safety and traffic improvements along this corridor. The Scenic Route 68 Scenic Highway final EIR was adopted in June 2025. That recommended 9 roundabouts, all signals that are now currently signalized, to be converted to roundabouts, and identified phase 1 as what I pointed out at the beginning, the 3 eastern intersections to be a hybrid roundabout with 2 wildlife crossings being integrated into the design. That's what we're working on right now. And then what we're doing right now is going towards Senate Bill 1, congested corridors. There's 2 different types of SB1 grants. We're going for congested corridors. It's due in December 26 this year. We're going to be asking for $57 million for those phase 1 improvements, plus a multi-use path from Toro Park to Fort Ord, new zero-emission vehicle buses in order to help reinstate Route 54. We think if we can get reliable traffic, reliability can be there, the transit service can be more reliable, and we can re-implement transit. And as Carl said, I mean, that's pulling people out of their cars. It's reducing congestion. It's a safer way to travel. So it'd be great to have. And then also bike facilities on the shoulders. So we're working, when they pave this this corridor, we're going to widen the shoulders and take out the grading and things like that. There won't be a bike lane, but it'll be considered a bike facility. So the new hybrid roundabouts, we think it's time to evaluate them again. So this is the decision we're talking about. So we think in June, we should be able to take a look at the reevaluate it. One reason why is because this new AI signal operation is a new benchmark. So if the signals are working better, that kind of means that the benefit of the roundabouts may be impacted by that. Revised project costs, which we'll get into, they've increased significantly. And we're going to take a new look at performance and safety. So a lot of the safety collision data we were using was before the pandemic because we needed 5 years. So it's only been recently that we can even look at a new crash rate. So we think it's a good time. What we'll do is call the benefit cost ratio. And it basically says you have all your benefits on the top of the fraction and all your costs at the bottom. And if you have more benefit than cost, it's greater than 1. And you could say that the project will have a greater return to the community than the expected cost of construction. And then if it goes underneath 1, it reflects a project that results in benefits that the quantified benefits that are not expected to approach the cost. But that's not just it. We'll get there, but the benefits of the roundabout in general is lower speeds, and lower speeds is a safety concern. Higher the vehicle speed, the more likely the serious of a collision happens. Smoother flow means less delay. It actually pushes more traffic. The optimum speed to get the most traffic through a corridor is certainly lower than the speed limit. So by getting in that smooth area, that's great. The lower serious collisions and fatality rates happen because you have less conflict points, and you have lower maintenance costs. You don't have electricity out there having to be run in maintenance. So there's still, when we look at a simple equation and simple numbers of costs and benefits, it comes to things you can quantify, but there's going to be some things that we just can't get a grip in with a realistic timeframe. Off-peak conditions, that's 20 hours a day and 7 days a week. So we can't do a comparison, a head-to-head comparison of roundabouts versus signals. We probably could, but we could spend a year on this. So we'll qualitatively come back and say, in general terms, the pros and cons of signals versus roundabouts, emergency response times, the aesthetics, property damage collisions, we talked about it a little bit. There's a little bit different between serious collisions at high speed and then the fender benders we talk about. So those typically aren't reported to the extent of other collisions. So we might just talk about that qualitatively. So the challenges with roundabouts, when there's no traffic out there, people have to go a little bit slower. That is, we've talked about. Some people get upset with that. The emergency vehicles do get slowed down through those intersections, same way as any other vehicle. The maintenance, I'm sorry, that just is the trade-off is the maintenance cost. And recent data has shown that minor collisions, property damage only, and motorcycle crashes, they tend to, well, I don't want to say 10, but there's some data that's been reported. Caltrans did a big report with Fresno State, and it showed that right after roundabouts are open, you have this issue with people getting ready, acclimated to the new surroundings. And then the side street queues, you do have to do model results, and that's what we're going to be doing is a simulation model that compares the two options. And we'll show, that, the more you push traffic on the main line, the more the side street gets delayed. But the thing about the roundabout is you don't have to wait for a green light. If there's a gap in the traffic on the side street, you just jump in and you go. So that's one of the benefits of the smoother traffic flow of a roundabout. But then again, the signal, you get that green light, you get that high speed, you get that traffic going, you get those travel times up or down. So you've seen these other diagrams of a simple single lane roundabout versus a simple signal. But I did want to point out that we are looking at a hybrid, and the hybrid does trade off a little bit in terms of conflict points. There are more conflict points in a hybrid roundabout than a single lane roundabout, but it's still significantly lower than a signal. And there is merge points, but these happen at a very low, they're still at a low speed. This is all designed to be going 25 miles per hour for everybody traveling through the roundabout. So you're still talking about more conflict points, but at a lower speed. So the serious collisions and fatalities are significantly reduced on a roundabout configuration. Now, the history of the cost estimates, this is August 7th. Let's see, the Scenic Highway Plan a long time ago, this is 2017, is 13.6 million was the cost estimate. It was a hybrid design. There was no details on right-of-way, retaining wall, wildlife crossings, or bridge costs. Those kind of things just came up more as we got into the final design and got a better handle of costs, which is typical of a project. The Traffic Operations Analysis Report, or TOR, that was done in the EIR, that was adopted on August 23rd, had an estimate of 14.9 million. That had a single lane design. Again, no details to this point of the right-of-way. They had some estimates, but they were really rough estimates on roundabout retaining walls and the wildlife crossings and bridge costs that we now know are there. are now included in the current cost estimate. So as of this month, we're saying 69.6 million. It has a hybrid design. This is for phase one. Detailed estimate includes right-of-way, retaining walls, wildlife crossings, and the bridge cost. So these are all costs related to phase one, which is the 3 roundabouts on the eastern end of the corridor.
Quick question, Doug, is that a typo, the 2017?
Yes, yes. It should have said 17 instead of 27. Yeah, right here. That should say August 2017. There was a question about the expense rate. You know, how much are we spending on this hybrid design work if AI might be a solution that we land on? So the staff reviewed the rate expenditure. We call this a burn rate for the hybrid design work, and we still want to keep going on and slow down work, but try to get to that date of December of this year to get to the final design. Sorry, the application, I got those two confused. The design has to be done by December 2027, but the grant application has to be done this year in November. And the work will continue, but at a slower rate through summer or until we get to that benefit cost analysis. So the burn rate or expenses, you know, when we were reported before in 2025, the burn rate was going at about 500,000 a month. We asked Caltrans to take a look, see what we can do, slow down the process, but keep that rate going. So we're going to delay that work. It's not going to be done as soon as we won't have as good a buffer, but we think we can meet our plan guidelines. And we wanted to target going down to 150,000 a month, but as of January, we reported it was 250,000. So we've done a lot to get the costs down. The costs don't go away, it's just delaying it, but we also are looking to sharpen our pencil and make sure we spend costs effectively. So next steps, we're going to assist Caltrans implement the adaptive signal pilot project. We're going to continue working on phase one design for the roundabouts and the SB1 grant application. And let's see, I'll get them all there. We're going to collect before and after study for the adaptive AI signals and give you preliminary results back in, we hope, May. And then conduct a benefit cost analysis for the phase one roundabout project. That'd be in June, we hope. And then we hope to come back with a recommendation soon for you to decide whether we pursue the roundabouts and go for the SB1 grant, or if we think that the signals is the right solution to land on that. So, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Doug. That does bring everything out in the open. So with that, any questions from the board? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. And Doug, if you could do this slide that was just right before this one. And first, just what this timeline is. Next steps. Thank you. The first thing I want to make is just a comment, because as you were talking, a light bulb went off in my head that maybe some others have had this experience, but it occurred to me, this may be obvious to others, that the adaptive signalization has to deal with a scenario where both directions have to be equal in terms of what the light configuration is. If it's green going west, it has to be green going east. They have to be exactly the same. And so some of the feedback, I know we're in the before stage, but even something I experienced is heading to Salinas in the morning. Once we started doing the before stage conditions, is I was now sitting in traffic for longer periods than I had ever sat in traffic, going in the opposite direction of traffic. And again, I realize this is the before, not the after, but the conditions that we have on Highway 68, which you just articulated, is that we have traffic heading in one direction in the morning and in a different direction. It's unlike, say, downtown Los Angeles or the 405, where everyone's going everywhere in the morning, and there is traffic that's equal on both sides of a road, say Wilshire Boulevard if you're in West LA, you could see how it would be different. So that seems to be a factor here in terms of what we're analyzing and how this will ultimately work. I might be wrong, but that was of interest and I had never put two and two together in that way. So that's my first comment. I have some questions. One question has to do with the hybrid. Why did we move from a hybrid? And is there any scenario where that's overkill for this location, for these three intersections?
The hybrid gets you more capacity. It does a couple things. So I don't think it's overkill. I think it's the right application for this. And one thing is a single lane roundabout has to get really big to serve trucks. So this is a main truck route, and we have huge trucks that go through there. So to go a single lane, you're going to have only one lane, so the radius has to be bigger. So the hybrid kind of condenses that so that the bigger vehicles can get through and use both lanes. So that's one of the benefits. And then that extra lane means that the left turns and the throughs can kind of go at the same time. So it does push more traffic. And the trade-off is there is conflict points. So that was a evaluation that we felt that trade-off was adequate.
Well, the reason I ask that is because I think the benefit of the roundabouts ultimately will be how much conflict those points create. Because if I'm also understanding the presentation, in high traffic periods going in the direction of traffic, you may not actually get to where you're going faster in peak traffic times, but you won't be stopping and starting in the same way you currently do with both the signals and the traffic on Highway 68. So the experience, if you're in Salinas and you're heading to Monterey in the morning, is you come to a complete stop for much of the drive until you pass a certain point, and then you're stopping and starting, stopping and starting, stopping and starting. Whereas it sounds like what you're saying with a roundabout design in those first three roundabouts, you may be going at a slow speed, but you're traveling down the corridor without stopping. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you'll still stop, but yeah, the essence is slow down to go faster.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but if we can get rid of the queue, that westbound queue that goes all the way back to Reservation, if we push more traffic through the roundabouts and we do the signals, that when you get to you'll get to that first signal or the first intersection sooner. So yeah, and we have simulations, and we've done some simulations, and it does show that the hybrid does address the queue better than a signal would, and we will bring that back to you. That's one of the main and most critical parts of this benefit cost analysis is going to be, does it push more traffic and does it lower the travel time and the delay on the side streets, things like that.
And I want to be clear, I'm really interested in moving the traffic along. Like I think that trade-off makes sense. If I'm flowing in traffic, even if I'm going at a slow speed and I'm moving through the intersection without the stop and go that I currently experience, I would be satisfied. My concern with the hybrid is, are we creating an opportunity for a car accident, that once you have a car accident or a fender bender or anything in an intersection, you slow traffic? Everybody comes to a stop. Whereas I'm just trying to understand if that's increasing with the hybrid. But I understand what you said about the determination for large trucks and why it would be important. I've become very familiar with the two roundabouts in San Benito County on 156. I know the one that's a hybrid, and then I know the turbo. Both scare the shit out of me, but I'm getting better at it. I'm getting way better at it. And whereas I'm also very familiar with the Holman Highway, and that one seems like a huge success in an area. I know it's big, like you said. We saw the image. It's a big roundabout. But that's just a lingering question. We can continue to answer that and work on that. I've got a couple other questions that I do want to ask. I want to just have you reiterate again what a before condition is and what an after is. So right now, because people are calling my office, What are we doing? What's the data points of before? What are we doing?
Okay, so I drove 68 a couple weeks ago. I'm like, something's off. And so I've been calling, the Caltrans staff's been very responsive, very good at it. And it's, I don't want to belabor this, but to put in a signal timing plan is very complex. It's just a ton of data. One typo, one conversion wrong, one thing like that. So there were a couple things, I believe, it was running uncoordinated for a while. So Corral de Tierra and San Benancio were just working terribly. So I sat there for a couple hours, a couple times in the morning, said, hey, you know what? I had Paul talk to his team, and said, hey, can you see something here? Ragsdale Drive, seems like that left turn is not working. They said, oh, you're right, there was a typo. It's one of the problems of having someone, manage something from 2-hour drive away. You kind of have to be there and look at it, and that's kind of what we're the eyes for them. So we work really good, I think, as a team. I've been watching, I've done signals my whole career. So I kind of help them. They say, oh, great, thanks. We're trying to get it back to that. So it took us a while. I do think they're using a longer cycle length than before too, right now. So we went from 140-second cycle length to 160-second cycle length. So I think actually things are doing really well right now. So I think it's better the last week or two. I think maybe 2 weeks ago they put in that new cycle. And so anyway, just me observing it, too technical for you, but traffic is flowing good. But we wanted to get that before we collected data. So in April, it'll look like today. That's pretty much our baseline will be like today.
I'm sorry, just try to restate the answer in a little differently. Before is the way the signals were working before the adaptive system was installed. So the first step is to simulate that condition. And then after is with the benefits of the additional work of the learned adaptive signal system. So the before.
As we've been implementing before, there have been some challenges and hiccups to try to recreate the before scenario.
Correct. They had to take the time to be able to recreate how it ran before the adaptive signals were installed.
Perfect. Okay, only one more question, and one more comment. I think that there is, I probably hear it more than most in terms of feedback from constituents in District 5, but I want to know what the future likelihood of if we determine that the roundabout projects are needed and we're moving forward, that for the rest of my lifetime and anyone's lifetime in this room, it's 3 signals and adaptive signalization and the wildlife corridors versus 9 signals. I recognize that we created a project for an entire corridor, but the challenge with that is that the public that is concerned about the project has a concern about 9 roundabouts. And for me, the bulk of the concerns are coming from one end of the corridor, where I don't think we're likely, and I might be wrong, to ever see roundabouts, because the challenge is for folks on the other end of the corridor who are traveling to the Monterey Peninsula for work and then returning to the Salinas Valley to go home. And so I feel like if we solve that challenge and we combine it with the adaptive signalization for the rest of the corridor, I don't know that we'll ever need the remaining roundabouts, but I could be wrong. But it's an unfortunate scenario that I think we find ourselves in, because we have a lot of folks that are opposed to the entire kit and caboodle, which is at the detriment. We're sacrificing solving a very, very challenging problem that impacts commuters who are coming from the Salinas Valley to the Monterey Peninsula. And so I just want to know the likelihood that you think, even if it's just, what your best educated guess is, whether it's Caltrans or TAMC, that we see such an improvement from just the first 3 signals and the adaptive control and the wildlife crossings that we could potentially never need the rest of the project.
That's a loaded question, but I don't have my.
Try answering my phone for one day.
I forgot to bring my crystal ball today, but I can tell you that in the morning and the afternoon, both problems in the morning and the afternoon commutes happen at San Bernardino and Corral de Tierra because they're so close together. So I think the adaptive is going to do a really good job of getting the most out of what we have, which is the signals. And I think the roundabout just at one end makes a lot of sense because that could free up the traffic. And then I know there's some planned development by the airport. So that might be something that we maybe look at a one-off because of development driven, but all nine, I don't see us needing all nine. I think the half signal at Ragsdale, so the Ragsdale and York, they seem to be, you know, I worked on that when I was at the city. That seems to be doing really good and probably don't need to fix that. So I think that if that answers your question, I think that's a good holding point for the foreseeable future is 6 adaptive signals and 3 roundabouts.
Thank you. And I'll just wait after public comment. I know I got some from constituents, and if they don't get asked, I'll follow up, but that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional board comments? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation, and I do agree with what the supervisor said, especially on the hybrid. I am a little concerned on that. I do feel maybe the studies do show that that ends up being safer overall, but it's that left turn that you have to cross over the double lane within the hybrid to start circling around to connect back in, which causes a concern. I do hope when we get the presentation on the AI, I want to see actual before data of the traffic flow personally, then the representation of the before data using the AI so we can see a comparison how close we got to it as well as the after. I will say one of my concerns is I support moving forward with the grants because it's a long process and we have to keep going. But we're being asked within a few months of just having 2 months of data on the adaptive signaling the couple months after to make a decision about going forward with the grant system and not knowing whether it really shakes out properly because I'm sure there'll be some tweaking afterwards. So I do hope we have the ability to continue studying that process, move forward with the grant application as conducted, but a final determination on the viability of the AI adaptive signaling portion is at a later point, because if it does solve a major problem or even a portion of the, as the supervisor mentioned, a portion of the segment, and we don't need it all, we should be able to pivot from that point. If we don't use that portion of the grant, give it back to the state or apply it to another phase that's more appropriate. I don't want us locked in after only, here's 2 months of data, make this long-term decision. So that's what I'm hoping that we'll get. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member comment? Yes, go ahead.
I totally support the roundabout design. I know that on Imogen Parkway, we have these double roundabouts or 2-lane roundabouts, several of them, 4 of them. And if you watch, it's great. There's a live cam 24/7, but it's more interesting during rush hour. So if you look at the worst rush hour traffics periods and watch the people coming in from the side streets who have to go left, they have to cross the 2 lanes, get on the other side and turn left. That's the trickiest part, but it's amazing how smoothly it's working for trucks, buses, doesn't matter who you are. And you can watch pedestrians and bicyclists coming through it too. So anyway, it's just an idea that you could go online and watch these 4 roundabouts, webcam 24/7, to see how 2-lane roundabouts work. But these hybrids are kind of like, they're not 2 lanes all the way around. So maybe they're a little bit easier. I don't know. I haven't never driven a one-on-one. But my question is regarding the money, the burn rate per month. It was great to see that. That's, you know, we're providing information, disclosing information. Can we get an estimate today or in the near future how much money those monthly burn rates have added up to that might not come to fruition or might be lost? You said it might be lost if we don't do the roundabouts. If in the future they don't happen, how much does this burn rate adding up to? I thought that would be a good disclosure piece of data.
Well, the burn rates, everything, if I could get it clear, because we do planning, we do grant writing, we're doing a corridor study and design. Are you asking for us to come back on how much has been spent on design?
Well, just to amplify the graph you showed us, it was like 3 months. It's like January and a monthly and.
The burn
so
rate.
I was wondering how much has that added up to so far?
In terms of for the whole life of the project? I mean, it's.
No, just that graph that talked about burn rate. And I think it started in January. Can you go to that graph? I hope I'm not asking for anything complicated. I don't mean to at all. No, the one that talked about burn rate.
Yeah, I got you. Shoot. No, I'm going the wrong way. I'm sorry. I think I passed it. No, it's a table. Yeah, so maybe we could work with you on make sure we get the data that you want, but it just, we were just looking at our budget. And that's cost estimate, sorry. There. So that just, that goes with the design and it ramped up, but we've been doing design for quite some time and we've been working on this project a long time. So that was just a point in time last year where we said, you know what, we're really sprinting to the finish line on the final design. So we ramped up everything and we looked at that and we said, but, and there were concerns, hey, how much are we spending? And we were spending a lot to sprint to the finish line to get this final design done. So if you want me to come back specifically with design, how much is spent, but
I don't, but it says late 25. I'm wondering, is that November? If it was November, I could add 500 November, 500 December, 250 in January. I could do my addition then, but
yeah,
just I thought there was a little bit vague and it'd be nice to have a little bit more specificity on.
Yeah, I'll work with.
So we do have the total project cost, estimated cost for the total project, which includes a summary of all the costs towards design, towards the environmental anticipated final design, right away, then construction. I mean, it is a lot of money. And that's why you can tell they're spending a lot of money to get to the finish point. So really, the board's going to have, this is the first opportunity. It's a good time to evaluate the cost benefit with the new information that's available. But it is just a point of reflection where you may or may not change in your direction you go or the decision made. And if the decision is to not proceed with the roundabouts, there will also be a decision on, do you just stop right now or do you complete the design work so you have a on the shelf project that you don't waste money that was spent? So there's things like that we'll be talking about in June in more detail.
Thank you. Just hoping for a short summary, but I'll talk to you offline.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, since we're on this slide, I just wanted to make that same comment, which is $250K a month is like $3 million a year. So I would want to know, like when we get into the June discussion, what is the cost for maintaining an adaptive signal moving forward? Like a yearly burn rate or whatever it is, which will allow us to contrast because on one hand, you're stating that roundabouts do not have signal costs, et cetera. Do adaptive signals, like adaptive kind of things have a cost? And is that something that we need to contrast with?
I can go there, but basically we bought the equipment. It's a lifetime license, my understanding. You do basically the same maintenance. You just have a little bit more staff time. I think the biggest difference when you commit to adaptive is how much time your staff takes a look at all this AI information, because it is actually more, I think, more staff time with an adaptive system to get a much better result. But you're talking mostly staff time. It's not anymore to maintain it, and the cameras are fairly low cost. So I think in a nutshell, it doesn't cost that much more once you have adaptive in to keep it in.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So I didn't see any other comments here. So any public comment on this matter? Actually, I do see a hand online. Mr. Weaver, you have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I've been following this adaptive artificial intelligence signal corridor, and I recall your agency voting twice to go forward with this, that it's possible it could work. And it was always said that it could take some time to fine tune it. And I understand that's what we're doing. This seems to be about saving grant application money. The people on the corridor I know are enthused about the signal coordinators. I've been following the roundabout in Hollister that was praised so highly. And I don't know how many of you are aware, but there's been 3 fatalities recently on that one, Highway 25. And it was a hybrid, wider. I mean, people get frustrated. They can't get in, they get in, and there's accidents, and there's been 3 deaths. So I don't think that's going to happen with the signal coordinators. So I would say, slow down, take a deep breath. Let's try the signal coordinators and, sidetrack the roundabout deal until down the road somewhere. It just seems to be like a bad cold that won't go away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Any other public comments online? If not, anybody in person? Oh, hang on. We have another online person. Mr. Stum, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate Doug doing a status report and acknowledging that the cost of the roundabouts have increased significantly, 410%, and will certainly cost even more by the time they could be built. The benefits have actually decreased as original claims have been corrected or downgraded regarding emergency response time, emission reduction, peak commute time reduction, and longer peak commute. Even the safety claims are under review after the 3 recent fatalities in the same 2-lane roundabout on 156. I ask if the 69 million included all costs since 126 million was budgeted for phase 1. This new radically different cost benefit ratio for roundabouts makes it even more important to do a thorough evaluation of AI adaptive as a much better cost benefit alternative. It's taken 9 years to research the roundabout concept, so spending 12 months to evaluate adaptive in all conditions is certainly appropriate. While I appreciate Doug's opinions on AI based on older adaptive systems, it is best to see this new AI technology in action to see what it can actually do. I addressed many points in my letter to the board and on the actual poor performance of the hybrid design by simulation, the acknowledged negatives of roundabouts by the TAMC staff, the removal of 4,000 trees, retaining walls, increased conflict points with the 2 lanes, and wildlife crossing costs, and the inaccurate comparison to the Pebble Beach roundabout. While reducing the burn rate to 150,000 is better, I feel that the board should consider pausing the whole thing and reconsidering it. And if the board would really consider these 9 roundabouts, if we started all over at 300 million to achieve 5 minutes in one direction and 0 minutes in the other direction, is that something that they really wanted to hang their hat on? And if it doesn't work, who's responsible and what will then be done? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stump. We have another online caller. It looks like Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, are you able to hear us?
Okay, try that. I can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Very good. It's very brief today. Thank you very much for the presentation and the details that are contained in there. I think you all have my comments on that, and also the fact sheet that appeared from somewhere, which tends to have different financial values in it compared to what we're being told today. Also, when you look at the plan that will the project funding that's going to come up in the next session or the session from CalTrans later, we see a $57 million in there. So I'm not quite sure, or $52 million. I'm not quite sure what the real number is. Anyway, it's a big number as we all talk about. I really value the board's comments, especially Mayor LeBear, in terms of his support for the going forward with a good length of time to really make an assessment on this. It's an enormous amount of money being spent on things like words like, we expect it to do this, we hope it will do that, it should do this, when we're talking about roundabout. It's really not good enough to have that. Hopefully, the simulations will prove whatever words are being spoken at the moment, but we'll find out when that happens. And having been a civil engineer for many, many years, it's very difficult to make predictions, but nowadays with technology, hopefully we can make the right predictions, but it all depends on the data going in. I am concerned about the actual baseline number that we're going to be using. There seems to be some confusion around how we're going to establish that. We seem to have tinkered with the system to try and simulate the baseline. That's a wide gaping hole. Why didn't we have the baseline to start with? And at the end of the day, looking at the Vision Zero stuff earlier, we've got to be careful if the roundabouts are going to be put in. How are you going to achieve that reduction in the first few years of the roundabouts being open? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other online comments? Seeing none, we close the online comment. We have somebody from the room. Please go ahead.
Ana Luz Acevedo Cabrera. I'm a resident of Marina, and I do like the roundabouts that they have on Emgen Parkway. They think they do a really good job, but I do recognize that this is a very different project. It's good to reference what's been done in Marina because I think that helps to put things in perspective. But the Highway 68 is very different, and I'm just wondering if for the simulations they considered not just the roundabouts, but if they were to do the AI for the signals, the alternatives, what are those alternatives for the different scenarios? And one more thing to consider is, are there any alternative pathways to achieving the flow of traffic apart from Highway 68? Because there might be some cost reduction in looking at alternative routes. And I'm just saying this because if you think about, if you look at cities like Monterey, during specific times on Lighthouse Avenue, you can't turn left and things like that. So could we do something similar on Highway 68 where it just ends up being a flow of traffic the entire time and you can't be doing the left turn, you could only be going into it. So obviously you don't want to restrict access from people being able to cross. So could we alleviate that in alternative pathways so that at specific commute hours, Highway 68 is just allowed to flow the entire time? So I'd be interested to see if there's any alternative studies in addition to AI, in addition to roundabouts, that could potentially alleviate these problems and add more alternative sources for people to go through across. And the last thing I wanted to mention, I have like 5 seconds, but on the AI side, I'm concerned about the security aspect. So if they can speak to security and the cost over time to maintaining the system. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Seeing no other public comments, and this is a receive report only, we'll close this item. Thank you, Doug. We'll move on to item number 8, receive reports from transportation providers. Caltrans, Paul, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Paul Valadeo, Caltrans District 5. Doug did a great job of covering the 68 adaptive traffic signal control. So I'll rely on that information as the update from Caltrans as well. Also wanted to notify this group that in late April, Caltrans expects to begin a non-invasive electrochemical chloride extraction project on Rocky Creek Bridge in Big Sur. This is a cost-effective and non-invasive process that increases the bridge's lifespan. And the first phase of construction will begin with installation and activation of a temporary traffic signal at the bridge, implementing one-way traffic control, reversing traffic control. We expect that project to take approximately 2 years, which includes largely one-way traffic control signal at Rocky Creek Bridge. I also want to highlight for this group that each April, Caltrans honors its fallen employees at a statewide workers memorial. Caltrans District 5's event on this behalf, this very worthwhile behalf, will take place on April 29th at 10 a.m. in San Luis Obispo at our district office in 50 High Garrett Street. Family members, coworkers, and friends of the public are invited to attend this memorial. The Workers' Memorial is a time to remember those who have lost their lives building, maintaining, and operating California's world-class transportation system and highlight safety awareness. And that's my update to this board.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, we'll move on to the next transportation provider on Monterey Peninsula Airport, Mr. Pick. Mr. Pick, if you're there, this is your chance to provide some updates.
I am sure here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks, team. Sorry for the delay. Brief update. TSA is operating well at the airport in spite of the lapse of appropriation. Airport operations has started a donation program to help our TSA employees while they work in an unpaid status. No plans for ICE augmentation at Monterey. The airport recently celebrated its 85th birthday. We are on track with terminal construction for a summer 2027 opening and aiming for LEED Platinum certification. Nonstop to Chicago O'Hare starts in May, and our airport executive director, Ms. Chris Morello, was recently recognized by the Salinas Chamber as Businesswoman of the Year. Any of your questions, that's my update.
Thank you. Those are some great updates. Any questions? Yes, we have a hand here. Hang on, Mr. Pick. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Supervisor Daniels. Thank you. I wanted to find out just a little bit more about the collections for the TSA agents. Is there a link or any information you can get us so we can support?
Absolutely. So there is drop off at the airport. We haven't had any kind of link set up for donating electronically, but goods and food and the like are able to be dropped off at drop-off locations at the airport terminal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the next one. MST, Mr. Sidoric.
Thank you, Chair. A few items. March 9th at 4:50 a.m., MST Communications Center was contacted by Monterey Public Safety to be informed that there was a multi-story structure fire in a housing authority complex at Casanova Plaza, inhabited by low-income senior and disabled residents. We dispatched a team and we evacuated 97 persons, pets, and minimal belongings to the Hyatt. The following March 12th and 13th, 25 of those individuals and another pet were moved from the Hyatt to the Country Inn and Marina. And yesterday we had we moved 10 residents from the Country Inn and Marina out to Rippling River and to Pacific Meadows. We continue to coordinate with the Housing Authority to assist those who were impacted by the fire and disaster. Probably one of the more under-realized but most important things that MST does is react to community emergencies like this, be it fire, flood, or other natural disasters. So I'm real proud of our team. And as a result, we just had National Employee Transit Appreciation Week was last week. So we made certain that all of our employees were appreciated in that manner. This past weekend, we had the honor of hosting 200 plus transit CEOs from all around the country, including the CEO of the New York Metropolitan Transit Authority, LA County, Vancouver, so from all across North America and Canada. And also
just as important, the transit CEOs from Moline, Illinois, and Park City, Utah, and Shreveport, Louisiana. So large, medium, and small converged here in Monterey. Got a tour of our Surf Bus Rapid Transit project. We had representatives from the Federal Transit Authority and the administration all here in Monterey over the past weekend, seeing all the great things that we're doing here. I have to say they were impressed with everything we're doing. I spoke about our adaptive signaling program as well. So, people are really impressed with how ahead of the curve we are on so many items. And speaking of the BRT, I was just out there right before this meeting, and I got my construction boots on here. So we are today 49 truckloads of paving materials are being delivered to our Fifth Street station, and by the end of the day, that whole station will be paved. We're 6 months into construction of the Surf Bus Rapid Transit, and we're already 5 weeks ahead of schedule. So while the weather's been disastrous for Palisades and Heavenly and Kirkwood, it's been great for our construction project. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to highlight the work of MST, what Carl opened up with. There were dozens of very vulnerable seniors in Supervisor Daniels' district that were living at the Housing Authority apartment complex in Monterey. Everybody thinks of the Red Cross and other first responders that come out and help these families, but they don't often think of MST being the people on the front lines, evacuating those folks, taking them to safety, taking them to those hotels. And most recently, as Housing Authority is trying to find alternative housing for these seniors and other apartment units throughout the county, they can't force them to go there, but they needed transportation to take them there. And initially, they said there was going to be like a 1-week delay to be able to do that. As soon as it was brought to Carl's attention, he goes, our team will be there tomorrow to take those residents. So that makes, it's a difficult time for these folks, but these little things really go a long way to make them find better housing and get their lives back going again. So Carl and TMST, please thank all the team. I just wanted to really commend you for your leadership during the most challenging times for our most vulnerable residents. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that insight. Next up is MBARD. We have Mr. Frisbee. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Just a couple updates. Our motor vehicle emission reduction grant program is going to our board for authorization in April. This program offers grants for electrification of medium-duty and heavy-duty vehicles, electric vehicle infrastructure projects, bicycle infrastructure projects, as well as the electric vehicle incentive program. Applications for the program will open in May, and the electric vehicle incentive program will open in July. We initiated our utility terrain vehicle replacement program. These are these small vehicles that are used out on farms for getting around vineyards and whatnot. It's a replacement program for especially for the old two-stroke engines. Get a lot of emission reductions from those types of projects. Grant program's active. We've got several applications, a lot of interest for the project. And so we hope to get a lot of emission reductions from that. And that's the update. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for David? Seeing none, we'll close this item out. Thank you to all the transportation providers for your updates. Item number 9 is report on meetings attended by board members at TAMC expenses as required by state law. And I just want to mention that I was at the CalCog meeting earlier this month, as well as the legislative day, which happened in Sacramento. And I can at least share an update there is that CalCog, the discussion for the gas tax is still very much alive. The alternatives discussion is now kind of like taking shape to see what needs to happen. And then on the legislative day side, we did advocate. Thank you to Gus and team to putting together a day for us to advocate things. I would just call out a couple of things. One is that the state does recognize the Central Coast Coalition. So this is not something that all transportation agencies do. So this is something unique for us. So which was called out by, in fact, the Secretary of CalSTA. And then secondly, we did advocate for essentially rail, because Olympics is on the horizon, and taking that Olympics into the picture for Los Angeles. The main advocacy for TAMC was really around rail and how we can actually improve our the rail corridor, or the missing gap between Gilroy and San Luis Obispo, so that during the Olympics we can cater to more riders and more trips and more disadvantaged communities that are along the route. So a few things have happened, but I did travel to both Long Beach and Sacramento at TAMC's expense. Thank you. No. Are there any other board members?
No.
Okay, any public comment? If not, I'll move on to the ED report. Go ahead, Todd.
Thank you. Just a few short items. I'd like to start by welcoming two new staff to the TAMC agency. Odalise Barras, can you stand and wave? New transportation planner. Joined us from Ecology Action. And then Andy Cook, new principal planner. Most recently with the San Joaquin Rail Commission, which gives you an idea what we're working on. So really excited for both of them. Odalise started 2 weeks ago, and Andy's first day was Monday. So they'll be, you'll be seeing more of them in future meetings. And then the last item, the Chair Pedori tried to steal my thunder, but I did have an opportunity to accept on behalf of the agency at the CalCog meeting, one of their Eureka Awards. It's an award for regional excellence. And in doing this, this was for actually the Salinas Valley Safe Route to School participatory budgeting effort that we did. And I'd like Ariana to stand up. She's the lead on the project. And also Aaron and Yannicka also spent a lot of time on this effort, along with our partners at Ecology Action and Monterey County Health Department. And it was recognized by the state as just the above and beyond and excellence in the program. So just want to give them the recognition. And that concludes my report.
And thank you, Todd. Go ahead.
Andy Cook looks very familiar. When was his last day when he was with someone, whether it's MST or TAMC?
Andy actually just shows how awesome it is to work at TAMC because 12 years ago he worked at TAMC and he's come back to join us. So we're really excited to have him on board.
Any other questions? And I was fortunate enough to be there while the award was being received. And I can tell you that some of the other recipients were work which was done from between San Diego and Mexico for the interstate highway and how that needs to be done. So it involved multi-jurisdictional, multi-country kind of like items. So TAMC is in a good stead there, and I appreciate everybody that contributed to get this award done. So with that, I have I'll move on to item number 11, which is announcements from TAMC members on matters that they wish to put on future TAMC agendas. Any comments there? Or anybody wish to put an item? If not, we'll move to closed session. And do you want to make an announcement?
Sure. Moving to closed session, we are about to, sorry, Chair. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, we're going to be conferring with real property negotiators concerning the items contained in the agenda. I'm about to hand back the mic to go out to the chair to go out to public comment, but I want to make the announcement that we're going to adjourn out of closed session as there will be no actions to report out. So here you are, Chair.
Thank you. And one final thing, I do have a hard stop at 12, so Vice Chair Alejo will be leading the proceedings for the closed session. Thank you, everyone.
Public comment.
Do we have any public comment? Online? or in person?
No, we're good.
I think we're good. So we're going to adjourn to closed session. Thank you.